There's this video I saw the other day where a player walks through this ultra-realistic foggy forest in Minecraft, and I just knew I had to recreate it, but with actual Silent Hill structures. In the comments, they said they were using the shader pack Bliss Shaders, and looking at their overall content, I'd also assume they're using the mod Conquest Reforged. Though I do a lot of modded reviews, I started off my channel with modded builds. I was gonna make that quick video, but with how much potential this mod has, why not make it into a cozy build experience? So with that said, we'll be recreating more of the iconic locations from Silent Hill 2. But before getting started, let me break down all the mods I used to make it feel as Silent Hill as possible. Starting with the main mod, Conquest Reforged. If you've seen those Lord of the Rings inspired Minecraft maps or anything super realistic themed, most likely they're using this mod. There is over 12,000 blocks and makes your PC take a bullet every time it loads. But they do great in making everything super atmospheric in terms of whatever build you are trying to achieve. They don't have modern name blocks, but you could always combine them with other similar world building mods such as Miniaturia or my favorite Cockercot. And it isn't Silent Hill without thick fog. As mentioned before, the original video had Bliss shaders. With that base, the most I did was honestly up the fog density, which I think he did as well. I did also decrease the contrast to make it as close to that pale color we see. Additional mods I use is one for realistic sounds, presence footsteps. I'm pretty sure most big mod packs use this to amplify footsteps to be a bit more dynamic, and I will say it's quite nice. For player animations, there wasn't really a mod that was to date with the version I was using, so I ended up with Simply Walk. It has this nice leg animation and makes you walk half the normal speed, but I feel like it works well considering James does walk slow in general. And to put everything together, we need a good third-person camera. I added Leo Wins third person, so this way we get that smooth 360 camera view. What's nice about this mod is that you can adjust the camera angle to your liking, so it's pretty great for that classic third-person view. For the actual building, we'll start off easy with the place that really told James Silent Hill isn't the place he thought he was, Rosewater Park. The main focus here would be the gazebo James and Maria met. I wasn't going to build the whole park because I think I would have lost my mind. Entering, you need to pass through this long tunnel, so I used a variant of this limestone and brick. The first white tile I used reminded me a bit too much of the skin walls, so I switched it to this thicker horizontal tile. The brick of the tunnel had a ton of color variants, so I ended up using 3 different types to create a gradient, making it feel really worn. There was also an actual arch block, so I added those as well, along with thin slabs to round out the inside. Then for a little detail, there are these quarter borders I placed along the wall with some pebbles to make it feel gritty. For the park grounds, I first laid out the area with this cobbled path and a bit of mossy brick to encase the whole park. There was this marble wall that separated the path from the trees, and sadly, I couldn't find a block close to it. I did a bit of a test but ended up with this thick column stand and matching slabs to connect it. I expanded more, leaving a nice big area for some benches and a small arch leading back down to the main path. The actual park in the game has a bit more turns, kind of like a maze, but who's really gonna walk through this? I went back to the arch and took some time to complete its upper portion. At first it was too blue and I hated how much chip paint there was. Then I used this grayish plank and made it a bit too small, but finally it came to a good height. I brought down the rest of the path to lead to another long area. There was a section with these little holes of water, so I wanted to put that in my build as well. Back to the main path, I pushed back the brick wall to recreate the statue of the man riding the horse. The only statue-like block I could find was this dragon head, and I gave up, so I made them face away from each other. The latter part of the path I made it dirt since it was approaching to the boardwalk section of the park. But while looking at the different types of dirt, tell me why I found the exact wall in the game. So I changed that. Anyways, we're back to the entrance of the boardwalk. Struggled a bit with the signage, but just went basic on it. Now we're at the base of the boardwalk. I tried some different planks and ended up using this texture of a mangrove log. The fences in Silent Hill were white, and the only white fence I could find was this, and yes, it does look a bit blue, but I still went with it anyways. I also didn't realize more trees were separating the brick wall and boardwalk, so I added a section for those. Finally, we're building the gazebo. I made a very long path going to it, and I tried to keep it a bit small. I felt like I couldn't use the same fence texture, so I went with this grayish looking pillar, added the roof, and absolutely hated it. The fences were too much. It was stressing me out. I started going through different colors and eventually figured I could makeshift a railing by using door frames. And that's what I did. So please enjoy this time lapse of me breaking down everything and individually placing a 2-part fence system all around. Okay, Take two. We're finally back at the gazebo part. All this change led me to expanding the area to be a bit bigger to allocate for the thicker pillars I used. I left a placeholder for this little detail I wanted to add while finishing up the roof, and overall, I'm liking how it went. The last step to this build, the details. It's a park, so I added a huge mix of grayish and dark looking trees. I didn't make them too tall since it seemed to be at level with James in the game. Also put some benches down, more bushes in overgrown areas, and a bit of trash to give that overall feel that this park hasn't been touched in a hot minute. For the boardwalk, I did the same thing, but with more tables and chairs, added a bit of water along the sides because we are on a boardwalk. And here we have it, Rosewater Park. The second build I promise will be a bit more smaller. I'm also going to a past location because I suck at making scripts. But I'll be building the Texan Cafe, or Cafe Texan. And again, for the purpose of aesthetics, I'll be building a part of the outside before heading into the cafe. One thing I did like about this location is the massive cloth barricade. I used the silk block and its half slab variants to make it look like it had layers of draped fabric. There was also some metal rods sticking out, so I tried recreating that and ended up making a small power line. I then started working on the front faces of the surrounding buildings. Thankfully, they were easy to do, as for the most part, they are composed of red brick. I took some time to figure out the windows. There wasn't clear glass I could use, so I found what was closest and added more of that silk block to make it look like curtains. Scattered some rocks and crates around to fill up the sidewalk. On the other side, I started laying out the foundations to the cafe. It had this beautiful mixture of this dark wood into the brick, so I tried to capture as much of its design. The second floor had some windows, and again, I struggled with that. I ended up settling with no glass and the same curtains from the other building, then finished up the yellow tent cover you see. On the side, I placed another fenced alleyway and a smaller sized brick building. It's kind of interesting how most of the town is just made up of that. This was a bit different though, since it had limestone for the second floor. But I went back inside to start decorating the interior. The shop uses a lot of dark wood planks, and I thought this was the best match, but I was wrong. I also tried my best to create that smooth yellow wall. Unfortunately, this was the most I could come close to. For the most part, this shop was small. I added a nice long bar with some stools and cabinets, left some of them open to make it feel like it was scavenged through. All around were some tables and a bit more decorations on the countertop. And while looking at the reference photos, I realized I did the whole left side wrong. The door is much closer and includes the brick wall, so I changed that. Nevertheless, I finished up the rest of the wall accessories, closed off the ceiling, and the interior was done. Back to the outside, there is this abandoned white car parked near the sidewalk, so I tried making it. Again, this was not my best car build. I am not known for building cars, so we'll just ignore that. For finishing touches, I added some loose trash around and additional power lines. This is a town after all. And that was it, the Texan Cafe. We are now at the final build for this video, and how can we not forget Lakeview Hotel Room 312? Nothing more gives me a dark feeling than this single room. And it makes sense because this is where you see James. Anyways, this hotel room is pretty small. Though there are glass doors, I went with a typical glass wall. It was a bit hard to figure out the carpeting for the floor. On one hand, it looked like a dirty tan, then at other times light green, but I used this brown carpet for now. There is a small rug, so I placed that as well. For the walls, I went with this brown trimming in a light green concrete block. It's a flat looking wallpaper, and though this texture had a line, I thought it looked nice for what this room represents. Eventually, I completed the walls and added space for the bathroom. I believe it was inaccessible when you first walk into the room, so I didn't do much and just blocked it off. Now for the furniture. I placed the bases like the desk on the side, painting, and this weird divider. But other than that, this base mod lacks furniture. I ended up downloading Victory Craft to finish the build, which is another mod in the style of Conquest Reforged, just adding more decoration blocks. I found a decent bed frame that matches with the game and better tables, but even with this, the smaller furniture wasn't enough. To avoid my PC from crashing, I grabbed a resource pack, Mizuno's. Using this resource pack, I added some curtains, lamps, and nicer looking paintings. And after a majority of the items were placed, I blocked the outsides of the windows and added a TV, which is essentially a wool block. Finally, I did a little bit of the outside hallway before coming into this room. Nothing too major, just more for the aesthetics. But here we have it, Lakeview Hotel Room 312. Now with some iconic locations built, let's do some gameplay.
It's like someone's groping around my skull. Mary? No, you're not.
This was my first time ever making a video like this, so if you enjoyed it, please let me know and share some suggestions on what other game structures I should input into Minecraft. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, and other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!